Chairman Jack McGinn said he was sorry to let Hay go, but stressed it was time to change the fortunes of Celtic. McNeill himself was sacked earlier this month after just 8 months with Aston Villa. He quit Parkhead 4 years ago after a row with the then chairman.
20 years almost to the day after lifting the European Cup as captain of Celtic, McNeill returned to Parkhead in a bid to lift their flagging fortunes. It's his second spell as manager. Taking over in the late 70s, he went on to win the League 3 times, the Scottish Cup and the League Cup once each. But McNeill fell out with the then chairman, the late Desmond White, over the terms of his contract and quit 4 years ago. His replacement was David Hay. However, in 4 seasons, he won the League and Scottish Cup just once each. Last year, the club were defeated in the League Cup final by the high-spending Rangers and finished runners-up to them in the league.
Please don't have the idea that you don't win something and you're going to be fired by Celtic. That's not the case.
Was it important to the club to bring a new manager to keep some of the top players here?
No, that didn't come into it at all. In actual fact, I think I pretty well covered this. It was our decision, and time will tell how right we are. It was our decision that we required to make a change, and we decided then to invite Billy McNeill to come back to Celtic Park, and he has accepted with alacrity.
Lisbon, Celtic versus Inter Milan in the final of the European Cup. If any British team could win this coveted trophy, it had to be Celtic. Inter Milan kicked off, and in a continental near heatwave, maybe the odds were a shade against Celtic. And a fat lot the Scottish heroes and their 15,000 supporters cared about that. Attack is the policy that's won the Glasgow Idols everything this year, except the English Cup, for which they weren't qualified to compete. An early Inter Milan attack found Simpson on the alert. Celtic counter-attacked, coming within an ace of taking the lead. Inter Milan looked really dangerous here. Capellini was brought down by Craig, a penalty. With the spot kick, Mazzola made no mistake. This was where Celtic showed the all-round attacking greatness that made them invincible this season on every big occasion. Second half, Celtic still a goal down in spite of having had 90% of the game so far. They continued piling on the pressure, believing the reward must come before long. The Italians had the luck of old Harry this time. Then fullback Tommy Gemmell shot from 25 yards out. Gemmell's brilliant goal didn't put new heart into Celtic. The old one was good enough to beat anybody. And how their supporters thanked their stars they'd come to Lisbon. But somehow, Inter's defence held firm. Barely 7 minutes from time came the winning goal. Chalmers deflected Murdoch's shot past Sati. That was how Celtic became the first ever British team to win the European Cup.
20 years on, the Lisbon Lions reunited. Fuller of face and figure, but unmistakable as football immortals.
There's a coach coming in, if you listen you can hear it, a clip hopping over the hill. And the sound that you hear is as good to your ear as the call of a wild whippoorwill. There's a coach coming in, you can feel it getting near all at once, and it bursts into view. And it looks to your eye like it fell from the sky, like a coach full of dreams come true.
Oh, don't trust me. Right, but a wee bit slower. We're not going to the camp,
A celebration to rekindle memories, sparked off by a familiar coach trip to the base for so many European triumphs. Men as ebullient today as they were cavalier and dashing in combat.
There's a coach coming in. Now it's riding in the pier. And the sound of it grows to a din. Now there ain't party going. Now there ain't party going. Now they're hollering war. There's a coach coming in. There's a coach coming in.
Seamill Hydro, the pre-match base where relaxation and fun, together with a little bit of mischief, fostered camaraderie which is still apparent today and gave many a sleepless night to the boss. This was a team full of style and humour, with the capacity to stir the pulse rate throughout 90 minutes. They were the supreme sporting entertainers.
Jimmy, there's your board. I'll tell you, I didn't bet on him.
Billy McNeil, known to his teammates as Caesar, leads his troops onto the beach, this time for a trip down memory lane. Yes, there's clear evidence of the passing years, all right. Just look at some of these waistlines. But there's a spring in the step nevertheless, inspired, no doubt, by the renewed camaraderie and the stirring of precious memories. Reliving those pre-match strolls on the Ayrshire beach and recollecting bygone triumphs. The ideal setting for their first reunion in 20 years. But what are they doing now? Jimmy Johnston, Jinky to the world, now coaching the Celtic youth team and helping Bobby Lennox, the reserve team coach, to prepare youngsters for the first team, hoping to recapture the golden years they themselves enjoyed. Still involved with running the club's pools, Steve Chalmers, and he looks fit enough to play. Indeed, he's a top-class golfer. His son Paul continues the tradition by playing for St Mirren. Firhill, the temporary home of Clyde, and they're guided in the First Division by their part-time manager John Clark, Luggy to his teammates, the sweeper supreme. Formerly Celtic's assistant manager until he left Parkhead in a cloud of sadness, but he retains his deep love of the club. Former manager of Partick Thistle and Hibs, Bertie Auld, one of 3 publicans in the side, a natural mine host with a fund of stories to entertain his guests. Murdoch's Lounge Bar, and the proprietor is the former Middlesbrough manager Bobby Murdoch, currently not enjoying the best of health. Across the country in Edinburgh, the third publican, the goalkeeper and elder statesman of the team, Ronnie Simpson. He won FA Cup winners' medals for Newcastle United in the 50s and made his Scotland debut at the remarkable age of 36. Jim Craig, known as Kearney. He was also a top-class athlete, now a full-time dentist and part-time radio broadcaster. The call of the city's financial world was answered by Tommy Gemmell, the former manager of Dundee and now an insurance executive, very much at home in a pinstripe suit, except, of course, at the weekends when he manages Albion Rovers. Regularly joining me in the commentary box as co-commentator and analyst, Billy McNeil, recently sacked by Aston Villa. He was a Celtic manager until 1983. Nighttime down under, the adopted home of the man known to his teammates as Wispy. He now manages a sports emporium in Australia, Willie Wallace. The sun and the warmth of Sea Mill was reminiscent of the searing heat of Lisbon 20 years ago. The welcome from the hospitable Portuguese was friendly. It was the Italians who worried Celtic. First, a look at the National Stadium. Vast, open and intimidating in its concrete emptiness. The atmosphere would be oh so different on the night. The training was conducted at the match kick-off time 5:30, still very hot and clearly to the advantage of the swarthy athletes from Italy. And the man in charge, the guide and mentor who was to turn himself into a legend, Big Jock. This man came from humble origins, a miner from Burnbank, Hamilton, whose playing career was inauspicious. Albion Rovers to Llanelli in Wales, and then the history-making stroke of inspiration. He was brought to Celtic Park as a stopgap centre-half late in his career. He became captain and led Celtic to a league and cup double, and then quietly departed from the playing scene through injury. After a spell as youth coach at Parkhead, he achieved instant success as manager of Dunfermline, Cup winners in 1961, and then as manager of Hibs, winning the Summer Cup in 1965. The inevitable career path took him back to Celtic, and once again, immediate success. But no one could have anticipated the glory days ahead, except perhaps the man himself. Training at the National Stadium was designed to familiarise the players with the surroundings and the playing surface. They had to get the feel of the arena. Nothing in Lisbon was left to chance. Onlookers couldn't fail to be impressed by the sharpness of the workouts. Jock Stein was one of the pioneers of tailoring football training to individual needs, realising that the requirements of little Jimmy Johnston differed from those of Bobby Murdoch, and the wisdom of those training methods would soon be apparent. Back to the common bond and the beloved green and white. The customary role of joker is quickly re-established by Bertie Auld. And while the pace is slower, memories flood back of Zurich, Nantes, Vojvodina, Dukla Prague and Inter Milan. They were all vanquished by 11 Scots brought up within 50 miles of Celtic Park. They became the first non-Latin team to win the European Cup. They were the only club to succeed with 11 men from their own country. 9 players home-produced. The total purchase price, £45,000.
Did you get that? I don't believe this. We were 3/4 of this team, by the way.
They spent £15,000 to bring Bertie Auld home from Birmingham. Ronnie Simpson was signed in a free transfer from Hibs.
The magic's still there. The lungs have gone. Corner! Play on! One touch, Bobby, one touch. That's all you need.
And Jock Stein paid £30,000 for the final missing link, the Hearts player, Willie Wallace.
Cliff, have you not got enough yet? We're knackered.
And they had the genius of Jimmy Johnston. Always in trouble, but blessed with skills which the passing years can scarcely diminish, but which invite a familiar response, yes, even from his friends. Let's take a look at this tackle once again. And as the replay shows, it could so easily have been Milan or Montevideo. Without doubt, the greatest club side ever produced in Scotland. And by the way, they could have won the FA Cup.
I'll tell you what, looking back, it's very, very fresh, isn't it? Very few things have changed. The bus would probably need to have a heavier payload, really, wouldn't it? I don't think the pre-match meal was like this, as it so happens. No, I think it's terrific, Tommy, because I do think it was a highlight of Scottish football. I don't think anyone in Scottish football will ever achieve the same thing, have the same impact as we had in 1967. It seems so fresh. In this place, fun enough, you mentioned Seamill. This had a lot to do with it. It's funny enough, the weather's just as good today as it was 20 years ago.
Strangely enough, aye. Bertie, what about yourself? What about your thoughts?
Well, I'm just looking at the size you knew, Tom. And as usual, it wasn't year round.
Well, now that you mention that, Bertie, I'll just have a wee top up.
But looking back, we had a marvellous time, didn't we? But the big man's not with us, and we've all been in positions just recently that we felt that he was a very fortunate person, but no, really, because he was the one that harnessed us all, didn't he? He was the one that put us in the right road occasionally and strapped our fingers and such like. Tommy, I'd be still playing if I didn't have to play in front of you. You've taken about 14 years off my playing career.
All I can say is John Hughes played in front of you for 10 years and he still to receive a pass. All he did was dummy runs for me.
All kidding and joking aside, it was marvellous times, great times, and the occasion was marvellous. But today we've come, and the big man was lucky because he had people that were dedicated. They had skill, they had ability, and they all worked hard. And we all appreciate what he did for us, but I think he appreciated what we did for him.
I can remember talking to John. I used to pick John and Jimmy up every morning to go to training. And as the season progressed, I can always remember John saying to me, what if we get into that final? What if we get into that final? What if we get into that final? What if we win the league? And all of a sudden, as the season progressed, we did that. One after another, we get into these cup finals and we won the league and all that sort of thing. We say, so good God, what's happening here? And, I mean, what about yourself, John? I mean, you must have a few memories about that.
As Billy and Bertie said, you know, it came to a time where it was a bunch of players, not the actual 11 here, but the pool of players that came, just happened to be there at the right time. Plus the fact we had a good manager, good people under him as well, and looked after us and guided us on our way. And I think the atmosphere, as you say, winning cups and winning leagues, I think the season that we won the 5 in the 1 year, I think as the games progressed, we got more confident. I think we're a team that was confident, and we're confident with our own ability. Plus the fact is, you know, just now you see in football the crowds coming back. We brought the crowds back. We started it, I think, in our era. And the thing I'd like to say is, you know, personally, I think playing with a bunch of lads that's round about this table is, you couldn't ask for a higher standard of playing, and you couldn't ask for better people to play with. And I enjoyed it very much.
You know, the funny thing, I think the big thing, we're very, very quiet at the moment. I think that is not our personality, is it? No. That's not the personality of this team being quiet.
No,
well, Jimmy got us into a lot of trouble.
Hey, we all got ourselves into a lot of trouble, Bertie.
But you come here, wait a minute, you never know who's listening.
The only thing was, you know, it was always me to get caught. I mean, the rest of you were worse than me.
Wait a minute, man, can I say this? See, I thought Hampden was our training ground.
Of course,
We went there just to finalise things.
You're talking about the big fella that's sitting, and I mean, as I said, across my shoulder here.
He's got his hand
He was
on your
always there,
shoulder,
wasn't he?
by the
No,
way.
he was always there, but I'll tell you, we all talk about playing and whatnot. But to be honest, he took us out of a lot of sticky situations. No, just on the field, off the field. And they'll talk about...
Speak for yourself, you know.
Right, I certainly, I don't know, by the way. It took you a few situations, it took him a few situations, right? Of course. But what I'm trying to say is that the man himself, they all talk about him being a genius and everything that he was. But to be quite honest, speaking among ourselves, he didn't really do anything spectacular, did he?
No,
he put it down to basics, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because you used to lift the ball, and of course you'd look and be going there or that or what, and you would do something to Wispy, banging the balls in the back of the net. We Murdy there at the end of the...
You're talking about the cream de la creme.
Right, no, but me and Barry, what we'd say was we used to go out in a game, you know, and I used to say to him before, I says, in Scottish football, we used to know exactly, possibly, because you played against these people so long, you would say, well, we know what he's like and what he's going to do. You know, give me the ball at my feet or gaze it behind him. But in the European ties, I used to say to him before, what do you think? He says, well, try it for 5 minutes. Went for 5 minutes and he says, right, used to go and check back and get the ball at your feet, go and take him. I think that what we had here was unique. Because we had...
Jimmy, it is unique.
We had...
It
is unique, because what we had was... We had a wee man sitting here on my right, Lennox, and a wee man sitting over there, Stevie, that were so unbelievable, because see, defenders hate it. The likes of the people with the pace that they had. But we had two magnificent players in the middle of the park who could feed that. We didn't have to tell and talk to each other what was going to happen. They would make cross runs for 40 or 50 yards or whatever. And see their pace used to... defenders used to be unbelievable, didn't they?
Yeah, tremendous.
Is that not right?
I remember one day I never got a programme and it was a windy day. And I said to me, Bobby, I said, David, I favour you catch me a programme.
I got to know, didn't I?
Real force wins, wee man.
Guys, people are talking about football and what is it to bring the crowds back into the game again. But if you can remember, Caesar, we had people 10,000 outside the park before the game, 20 minutes before to get in, because of why? In case they missed a couple of goals.
You were wonderful you were going to turn up, man, that's what it was.
And there's a wee fella that joined us as well, Wispy. Wispy was magnificent. For what? Used to play the ball and we would hold it, play it off. You know, I mean, I think we're all just, I mean, each and every one is...
You quite agree with Jimmy?
Would you? What do you
think?
think?
I think are you as good a player as Jimmy says you are?
I'll tell you what, Wispy, speak up, would you?
I think that, you know, it was magnificent. I joined, as Jimmy said, halfway through that season, for the season that you won everything, 5. And within a few days of being at Parkhead, that was partly the setup. Where, you know, joining clubs like...
We had you tap for about a year and a half before, didn't we?
So when I went to Hearts, you know, it was like an apprenticeship for 2 years before anybody would talk to you or do anything, you know. But when I came to Parkhead, within a few days, I was part of the group.
This must be unique. I think Bertie must be the only guy that's ever signed for Celtic 3 times. And I think that's true, isn't it? You went to Dumbarton and then you went to Birmingham and then you came back and you signed first of all. I mean, that must in itself must be unique.
Something, Tommy, I'm going to say something to you. It hurts me to see the club in the situation it is at this particular moment, only at this particular moment, because they've had marvellous years. But I believe that football goes in cycles and it'll come back, right? When I signed at Celtic Park at the beginning, the boss was Jimmy McGrory. And he said to me, Bert, what would you like to do, or what would you like to see? I said, I'd like to see the jungle. And I went out onto the turf, and it's sacred turf, and it always will be sacred turf. Because if you look back at the history of Celtic Football Club, there's no other club in the world like it. When you look at the St Mungo Cup, the Coronation Cup, European Cup, there's so numerous things that should happen, and it will come back. All it needs at this particular time is a wee bit of guidance, and it'll get there. I signed for them 3 times, and if I was at the age to sign for the 4th time as a player, I would do it, because it's a marvellous place to play in. And Glasgow is the capital of soccer, as far as I'm concerned. Oh. Ronnie, you played with Newcastle, a couple of cup finals and everything like that. How did you feel? coming to Celtic Park?
Well, I said it today already that it was one of my best moments, the greatest moment, was signing for Celtic Football Club.
You were tapped on one, weren't you? No tap.
Big joke, Celtic.
You come into the dressing room, didn't we? Anyway, we said, what about him? Ronnie, to be honest, honestly, we said, you're joking, him? As a goalkeeper.
So Ronnie, we thought you were assistant manager. What was your, when you look at the English Cup final victories that you had with Newcastle?
They were great events. They were super too, but I think playing for Celtic Football Club, playing for the club, and I mean this, it was the greatest club in the world I'd played for, and the greatest bunch of lads I'd ever played for. I just made the numbers up. There was 10. There was 10 every... It's very true.
Ronnie, can I ask you a question?
Because I remember some players saying, keep the ball away from him because we'll lose a goal. If you had a situation where, you were defending and it was a 20-yard free kick outside the box, and you had to make a line-up, you only needed one man in the line-up. You got Bobby Murdoch in the line-up, and that was all right, you see? And in fact, often I had to say to Bobby, turn a wee bit right, so that I could see it. I couldn't see it.
That's so you can see.
Tell you what, we were very privileged at Lisbon, weren't we? Because Kearney turned up. There wasn't an athletics meeting that day, so he turned up at Lisbon for a European game.
You've seen a whole from my back.
We've not heard anything from him.
No, can I say this? I thought he made a game here. Could you just talk us through that particular mad stage that went through?
I misheard what Jock said, they said to give away a penalty. But before we actually get to the game itself, I think we've been very lucky. The camaraderie we've had today, it's been a great trip down here. We're only halfway through it, thank God. We've got tonight to go as well. But the kind of feeling we have in the bus coming down and this afternoon here is very reminiscent of what it was like back in '67. I think that was a great thing that we all had going for each other. But a funny thing I remember about getting to Lisbon was that if you remember the night before the game, Jock took us to a laddie's house up a country road, Roddy Lennox. But then coming back again, and in the eve of a European Cup final, we were coming down a main road to meet the promenade to go back to the hotel when Neely Mochan suddenly said, there's a hotel there, we'll cut down this hill. And in the evening before the European Cup final in darkness, we ran down a hill to get to the hotel. I think we climbed a wall or a fence or something as well.
Yourself, right, and Willie, right, being front players, and Jimmy as well. Right, Stevie, right, very, very difficult. You're playing against Italian defenders who were well known for their sort of tactics, if you like. I mean, how did you find it, Stevie? Playing against, close man marking and that sort of thing.
Well, at one point I was going to the toilet and this fella followed me in.
Was it a bit funny, Stevie?
Well,
you like that? That was your misfortune, Stevie.
I was just in luck that day.
You're quite a good-looking guy.
For my age, Jimmy. I think what he's asking to that day, I think the big man read it right, didn't he? Because he asked us to occupy the back five, didn't he? The front four.
No, a minute before you get any further. What do you mean the front four?
There was 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, you're in midfield.
No, I was where were you playing?
You have to drop back a bit.
Did you
Which team top were you at, John?
I usually do. I kid you, and he never was up front his life.
Whatever you did it well, because I'll tell you what, I could have wore a suit that day.
I'll tell you, the whole team.
I thought you did, big man.
After Kearney gave away that penalty, there was no danger, was there?
What do you think of it, Billy?
Jinky.
If you look at the film, there are about 6 or 7 is arguing the referee to. See, the more you look at the film, it was a bigger penalty than we all thought it was.
With this spot kick, Mazzola made no mistake.
At the end of the day, did you ever think, Billy, did you ever think that we ever had a chance against them?
Who?
Milan.
Do you know something, Jimmy?
Remember
I
seen
never
films
ever
of
felt
them?
anything
They'd done everything. They'd done the business. They'd won 2 world championships. And we were getting in as the
Can you remember
underdogs.
going out the tunnel?
I hadn't any teeth. Still haven't it. He'd no teeth. Where is he? He'd a full set. He'd done
Have you had it when he spoke at the time?
We're standing in the tunnel, we're standing aside these guys, they're all here. Film stars with the teeth gleaming, the hair all dressed back in the tan. They must have been saying, what is it they're playing? What are we playing?
As our hungry lions and the athletic Italians entered the arena, Celtic were charting unknown territory But it was all so different for Inter Milan. They had won 2 consecutive European Cups in 1964 and 65, and they had won those 2 World Club Championships. They had world-renowned players seeking their 3rd winner's medal in 4 seasons. Sarti, Burgnich, Facchetti, Garneri, Pichi, Corso and Mazzola. But most important, they had the legendary manager Helenio Herrera, hailed as a tactical genius of his time, revered all over the world. Indeed, a man whose methods had been studied by aspiring coaches from a host of countries, including Scotland. His reputation was never to be the same again. Jock Stein had studied the Herrera methods, not to mimic them, but to learn how to overcome them. The big man would have no truck with tactics based on blanket defences, slavish man marking and cynical tackling. His was a world of stylish craft, ball skills and pace. Football philosophies were on the line in Lisbon, and the world at that time was in no doubt. Herrera's defensive policy would triumph over the swashbuckling approach of Celtic. Stein was certainly admired, but believed to be in top European terms a trifle naive. Inter Milan were hot favourites, Celtic the no-hopers, clear underdogs, even in Scotland where blind optimism is a national football trait. History would show the debt the world of football would owe to Stein.
Did you shut your eyes? You know what I think, honestly, but we're talking about, and yeah, I'll still talk about it as well. Everyone here said a bit of character. I mean...
Bad character.
Bad. Oh, aye, bad as well. But we all helped each other. I mean, they're talking about people and talking about teams and whatever. But there's people sitting in here that were non-Catholic or whatever. That never ever bothered us. That never bothered us. No, I remember us getting down in the bus. I remember us going in the bus. Right. What was saying? What was our song, me man? The cry was no surrender. Is that right? Was that one of our songs? Right. My point, sir.
Think of that second leg. Where were you?
Where was that? I was at home and I was shouting on.
And you deserted us, eh?
No. Can we go back to... Listen, can I tell you a story?
Tell the story.
Joey came to me, right, at half-time. It was one each, wasn't it? One each. Into the toilet. And he said, listen, if you do the business for us, he says, if you won by more than 4 goals, you don't have to go, because I had a thing about flying, I hated it. Still, a lot of people do. I think the rest of you do as well, you know. And I says, you kidding? He says, no, honestly, he says, if we won by 4 clear goals, he says, you don't have to go the following round. I says, right, went out, and as you know, scored 2 and had a won another 2, sort of a thing.
Magnificent that night, we must.
Thanks, Barry. Barry, now. Can I tell the story?
Well,
but after it, I was buying his penalty box. And he's saying, what are you in here? He says, get up. I says, no chance, I says, I won a promise. Remember I scored the last, it was 5-1, I shouted to him, I says, I don't need to go. I don't need to go, and he's saying, what are you talking about? I says, I'll tell you after. I'm buying the, 5 minutes to go, the penalty box, and I'm kicking balls. He done a man. Beating him as well. And he didn't know the story. The big man, no, wait a minute. After it, by the way, the big man, excuse me, Bertie, the Godfather, the big fella over there. After the game, he says, listen, you know how he was double wide, you know. Great guy, but he says to me, the coach come in after the game and he says to us, you have got to show Belgrade Jimmy Johnston. I went like, you're joking, you're not on. I says, I made a promise, you're not on.
Jimmy, I think we should go back to the big man. It was good for us. No, I'm not going to agree yet. No, but remember, we were out there, training out there. 9. We were having a shooting in practice, and they were refurbishing the place. You get the paint tins out, right? That's how I get the name of Sam, right? But you know how he placed them out and used to dribble round them, so I knocked 2 out and all that. You know? Hey,
You knocked 4 out.
You're a bad day, Sam.
So, aye, that was it, because I was shooting at you. Right, you and Peter. Right, so when I knocked it out and all that, he says, oh, look at big Sam there, you know.
So tell the public who Sam is.
Samuel B. Allison. Right, the demolisher. So I demolished the paint tins. So that says, the big man's quote was always, you know, when we played keepy up and things like that, you can't do that on a Saturday. You know, I says, we don't beat paint tins on a Saturday. so that was it. It just went right, everybody did for a bath.
It's the first time I've ever seen you blowing up there.
All kidding and joking aside, funny stories, we had a million funny stories, but the one that I remember most of all, I'd said to the boys earlier that Big Jock had just signed someone to replace me. A guy called Ted Callaghan. Ted Callaghan, he was a marvellous guy, wasn't he?
What a player, eh?
He was a great guy, wasn't he?
What an
Marvellous guy.
introduction in yours, eh?
I'll tell you this much, I pitied the guy, I was glad I wasn't younger. I went at this mob. But anyway, we'd played at Firhill and it was a good game. We were winning 3-0 at the time, and all of a sudden I was on the bench. There was only one substitutes at that time, and I was 12th man. Big Jock had tried to bring me in kind of gradually as substitute. So anyway, the score finished 3 each. So we were playing a replay on Wednesday, and the team were hopeless. Yous were hopeless. But when Big Joke named the team on the Wednesday, Big Joke named the team on the Wednesday. By the way, I never even went on the Saturday. The team was the same, but the substitute had changed. So Big Joke must have known I was out at the weekend.
Hey, he knew you were out at the weekend.
So anyway, I knocked his door just before the kick-off. I said, hey, big fella, I says, I was going to swear there, but I changed my mind. I says, all the punters, all the players, all my pals, they're all laughing and joking. He said, how in could you play the same team that played on Saturday? He says, well, I wanted to win the night. I says, but I wasn't even on the park. He says, well, if things were going to stick at the end of the game, I wanted to put somebody on that was going to win. Memories for him. He used to come up and say, what is that you're drinking? I say, hey, big fella, slow down. Fresh orange. He says, let me taste it. He wasn't a drinker, you know. There was smoke coming out his nostrils.
Look at a Coca-Cola and that, maybe 2 or 3 vodkas in it. And he'd come in, they would go.
You only had 2, you must have been a bit clever, Ross, wee man.
He got him show him Dinah first. Remember it, man, eh? In Vancouver, eh? He's a drink of that, you know, and they would go. And bloody heat up. Coca-Cola.
I remember, if you remember, that Celtic film was taken round about Lisbon, and I remember speaking to Jimmy Gordon, who was taken, and I said, how do you think it'll finish up? And he said, well, I think there's a fairy tale about Celtic, and it might just finish up success. It did. Now, there's one thing should have told us that. If you remember, we went down here and we played a bit of golf, and Big Tommy had a hole-in-one at the 11th. Down there at West Kilbride. Now, the way Big Tommy plays golf, Bertie, for him to get a hole-in-one anywhere would have been his achievement. Let's face it.
I don't know about that.
But that should have told us that all of a sudden things were going to go right. Now, if you think, going back to the start of everything, all those fans leaving Glasgow, we were a bit envious of the fans, weren't we? Because they were leaving. They were leaving, weren't they? And they were full of excitement. You remember the cars were painted green and white, and everything was, it was magnificent. And when we got to Lisbon, the fans made sure. I mean, there was no danger who was going to win, was it? Really.
They were excited, all right. A green and white exodus which will never be forgotten. It was an age when a holiday in Mallorca was a preserve of the wealthy and a pipe dream to the working man. But 12,000 fans set off on the great adventure to support Celtic in Lisbon. It was the first of the major sporting airlifts, a host of charter planes ferrying fans to this unknown land called Portugal, to many a name hazily recalled from long-discarded geography books. They travelled by car, by train and by bus. They hitchhiked, some with barely the price of a square meal in their pockets. The priority was to afford the trip to Lisbon. Getting home was the least of their worries. The British Embassy in Lisbon braced itself. There had never been a football pilgrimage quite like it. Wives and sweethearts were abandoned, places of work were deserted, and even the dole queues were shortened, at least for a time. How the Scots relished the Portuguese welcome, and the locals were fascinated and intrigued by the good-natured revelry of the Scots. Yes, it was to become a carnival of massive proportions.
See, boys that you were maybe possibly at school with and worked with and whatnot, were at that game.
Yeah, they were.
I know guys that were there that I'd worked with and went to school with, were at the game. You know, just ordinary supporters.
That's right.
Just went out and said, right, took the week off work, fortnight off work, cost them a bomb, went out there. To me, that's a wee bit special.
Yeah.
You know.
Can you remember the night of the game when we'd won the trophy? And that? Okay, it was just one of these things. We went five, didn't we? We went five that year. But can you remember going back to the airport?
Aye, we all the fans.
We went back to with our wives.
That's
Right?
That's
Okay.
right.
Can you remember going back to the airport and all of a sudden, what a reception we got? Remember?
That's right. Aye.
Bill Shanklin was there on the bus. He was the only manager that was on our bus.
Barry, what was his quote? The Shanks quote to
He
Big
turned
Joe.
around and he says, big man, he says, there's only one team in Europe that would have done this.
No, he said, he's a one quote to him, he says, you're immortal. And I think
I'll tell you what, you know, there's certain things missing. You know, there's 11 of us here,
Yeah.
which is, we were lucky, weren't we, because we get picked on the day.
Yeah.
But there's fellas around the edges that could have been picked just as easy as a lot of us.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I mean, the big man's not here, God rest him.
Yes.
Sean's not here, is he? Neely's not here,
No.
Bob Rooney's not here. I mean,
That's right.
they were important factors as well, weren't they? Because, that's right, a great chairman.
And then you've got the Frank, he was a guy, he was a factor, yeah.
Desmond White, you know what I mean?
That's right, that's what I'm saying to you.
Don't forget, John Fallon was the only substitute
Well,
at
that's
all
why Ronnie played
times.
so well, Jim, wasn't it?
You know?
Well, can I tell you this?
I think he should have been substituted after that penalty.
After the back healer.
I remember going, we went to Spain, we played Real Madrid, didn't we not? And Di Stefano's
He left you out, it showed good wisdom that night, didn't he? He left
And
you out.
I was so hurt because John Fallon gave the best display of goalkeeping I'd seen in so many years. He was unbelievably brilliant. Remember that?
We had seen.
What we've almost, I think we'd all loved to be in party was this man, you know, lifting the thing.
There's a lot of things that worked well for us. We had good spirit, we had good training, we had a good manager, we had good pool of players and all the rest of it. But the one thing that we all should take credit from on the day was the fact that each and every player rose to the occasion, which doesn't always happen.
That must have been like big man. You getting up there,
You know,
eh?
that's the thing about it. It's a funny thing about that. If you remember, it was an absolute shambles after the game, wasn't it? Because everybody was in the dressing room. There was no organisation. Nobody knew what was happening. And I had to go up and get the cup myself. And I'll tell you, we got through the crowd, and people said it must have been murder. It was great. When I think about it, it was magnificent going away to get it. In amongst people that were so happy about you winning the cup, it's fine. But can you remember getting back to Glasgow?
That was a climax. That was a climax.
Imagine me and you. I think about you day and night. It's only right to think about the girl you love and hold you tight. So happy together. If I should call you up, invest a dime, and you say you belong to me, ease my mind. Imagine how the world could be so very fine, so happy together. I can't see me loving nobody but you for all my life. When you're with me, baby, the skies will be blue for all my life. You and me, no matter how they toss the dice,
after the triumphant drive through the streets of Glasgow, the tumultuous reception at Celtic Park. Packed to capacity to honour the returning gladiators, an occasion full of emotion. It touched the hearts of the young men being acclaimed. When they embarked on their life of sport, they couldn't have conceived such a day. Paradise, indeed. Not only the 11 who played in Lisbon, but the reserve players, so talented in their own right. Remember the names: John Fallon, Ian Young, Willie O'Neill, Jim Brogan, Charlie Gallagher, John Hughes, Joe McBride. They too would have graced any team in Britain. But it was more than the celebration of a cup win. It reflected a football occasion which put Scotland on the map, filled Scottish people with pride, brightened a host of humdrum, worry-laden lives. Industrial output was increased. Such was the impact of this historic triumph. And the effect on Celtic Football Club was equally significant, but kept well in perspective by their chairman of the day, Bob Kelly.
I myself, and I'm quite sure that all the people in the past who had the great honour to be in charge of this club do not regard themselves as other than trustees of a wonderful tradition. The club is much bigger than any player or any individual connected with it.
From the coach to the trophy room, the ceremonial placing of the European Cup on a cabinet already laden with the Scottish Cup, the League Cup, the Glasgow Cup, and the League Championship trophy. But this was special. An impossible dream had been realised. The Lisbon Lions from 1967 to 1987. But let's remember the man who led them, the big man, the man who made it all happen.
Unforgettable, that's what you are. Unforgettable, though near or far. Like a song of love that clings to me, how the thought of you does things to me never before has someone been more unforgettable in every way. And forevermore, that's how you'll stay. That's why, darling, it's incredible that someone so unforgettable thinks that I am unforgettable too. Unforgettable in every way, and forevermore, that's how you stay. That's why, darling, it's incredible that someone so unforgettable thinks that I am unforgettable too.
Then another veteran, Alan Rough, was brought back from Florida to fill the slot. Rough stays on the staff and is joined by Ian Andrews, a £300,000 buy from Leicester City.
Referee Colin Downey decides to apply an advantage. Here's Whelan, and here's Rush. Danger. Fine save by Andrews. Here's McMahon. Donald's off to the left. And McMahon goes for goal. Andrews saves, rushes in there, but so is Osman.
At the end of the season, the slate's wiped clean, as it were, and you've got to start afresh. So there is pressure to go and be successful again. But I've been used to pressure. When you're with a club like Celtic, then pressure is part and parcel of your everyday life. The thing I would say to you is that these lads, and I think they're a tremendous group of professionals, they went through an awful lot last year and came up trumps. I see no reason why they can't do something again this year.
So, England prospect not two-thirds of the way through their centenary season and determined to begin the defence of that thrillingly won title with success against Hearts, their closest challengers last season. Nearly 47,000 were there to see it on a day which began with a celebration, as Archie McPherson describes.
Well, not a bad way to start the football season, is it? To be punning round Celtic Park in a Rolls-Royce. That is the undoubted pleasure of the chairman and his wife, Mr. and Mrs. Jack McGinn, and the manager and his wife, Billy McNeil and Liz. And their journey is, of course, absolutely necessary, because at the end of it, they will be raising the championship flag. And they certainly will not be exceeding the speed limit, because I'm quite sure these supporters in the background will want to linger over this site, an indication of the resurgence of Celtic. And the supporters at the traditional Celtic end of the ground awaiting the Celtic dignitaries and the raising of the flag on the specially erected flagpole. There it is to the left. It is a temporary structure, but I think the symbolism of it, more than anything else, will satisfy the Celtic supporters. And now this simple but nevertheless very important ceremony. The flag is unfurled. Sometimes it doesn't go all that smoothly. Flag being a little naughty, it's not as windy as one would have liked, maybe. Nevertheless, there it is. And a very popular selection of Tommy Burns as replacement captain for Roy Aitken. In an unfamiliar-looking Celtic team, without Bonner, without Aitken, it's a bit like Celtic Park without the jungle itself. But there is a reconstruction under the captaincy of Tommy Burns, as I said. The last season had his testimonial. And in that vital position in goal, Ian Andrew, signed in a close season from Leicester City, and signed in a bit of an emergency situation for Celtic as a result of that serious operation that Pat Bonner had. And talking about reconstruction, we can see it also in the team from the east, the capital city, Edinburgh, Heart of Midlothian, and I must say I like the signings that they have made. First of all, we have a man back in the maroon colours. He started out with Hearts, Eamon Bannon. And the thing about Bannon is not just his spectacular play as he comes forward, but his intense work rate, and I think he's going to be a signing of inestimable value for the Hearts. And a player who's been a bit of a mystery in Scottish football, blowing rather hot and cold, but when he is hot, he's outstanding. I'm talking, of course, about Ian Ferguson, number 9, the scorer potentially the scorer of some great goals. And there's the referee, Bob Valentine, still smiling. The last time I saw his features was in Gelsenkirchen when he was refereeing West Germany against Denmark, and he refereed that with great assurance. The opening day of the D&Q Premier Division Championship, there must be a lot of tingling nerves out there, and I have to confess myself that life is bearable now that football is back. I'm sure there are some ladies watching the programme wouldn't agree with that, but there we are. I think I share that view in common with the approximately 45,000 people inside Celtic Park. Nice touch there by McCarthy. A lot of hard tackling, and Whittaker just sweeping it away. Burns. I say last season I was impressed by the play of Anton Rogan. This is Walker. Watched very carefully by Dave McPherson. The old 1-2. Well, that's a tempting ball. And just past. Well, I think you might say that is a typical traditional Celtic opening to a first game. Trying to catch Hearts cold, lucky just to sweep that away, and just to the side of the goal, with the Hearts defence looking really rather shredded there. Here's Burns. Rogan. Well, Mike Galloway held back in the tackle very intelligently there. No foul. McStay. Neat little reverse pass. And Hearts remaining cool in defence. Pressure still on, though. Well, you've got to be cool when the Celtic flood is coming towards you. Offside. Well, the Celtic supporters loving it, but I must say, it's all a bit frantic and hectic. It needs the likes of Tommy Burns to put his foot in the ball and try and inject some subtlety into the play. Well, Ferguson took up very good position. Just a little bit too delayed. Bannon. There's Ferguson. It's a clever ball. Cahoon trying to go in. And notice how that Celtic defence covered up for each other. That was Rogan. And just once or twice. Oh, by the way, I like that fashion of Paul McStay's. I'm not quite sure if it's to support him or not, but it's very nifty. Black, a little bit slow. He could have pushed that through. Well, that's a bit ambitious. Then Ferguson, and that's an excellent save. Oh, Ian Andrew will like that, but really, I think Ian Ferguson missed a glorious opportunity here. Picked up well by Black, but watch this. No, he should have put it to the other side. There was more of the goal gaping, but nevertheless, Andrew proved the match for that. McAvenny. Burns. McStay not quite in the game, not grasping it the way he normally does. There's Mackay. Ferguson laid that up beautifully. There's a good run forward. Murray, can he touch it in? Oh, it's inches away. A superb move by Hart. The young fullback, Malcolm Murray, doing a thing which would receive glowing praise from any coach, coming forward, auxiliary attacker, and that was most unfortunate. The Celtic defence in the last 2 minutes have been caught on the hop. Next day. Cahoon. Draw to Celtic. There's McPherson up and over, and I think it'll be a free kick. Just dabbed forward, looking for a return, and coming through now McStay. Miller simply hasn't had the service in this game, and look at that. Ooh, Henry Smith stayed in his line, and the Celtic players are irate, thinking there was push. Let's watch this again. Yeah, that's what they were complaining about, right in front of the goal. The referee brushing the protests aside. Miller switching wings for this. Oh. Well, I don't think that was in a textbook on how to cope with a corner kick. Just over the halfway stage of this first half. Still nothing each. Miller did that so delicately. Brilliantly tackled, though. Burns. I think that'll be a free kick, yes. Really taken out. Davy McPherson judging he was going to be beaten by pace. Free kick to Celtic. Oh, a bad one. Really got to stretch the defence from that, and that was simply to the first defender in line. Up comes Berry. Referee waving play on. I thought Cahoon stretched out too far offside. Right behind to Bannon. That's Cahoon. That's a tempting ball in McCarthy, taking no chances. To the far post as McPherson, Galloway. Bit of pressure now by Hearts. That's Galloway. This is where the benefit of McCarthy in the air comes off for Celtic. Oh, gift. Now Cahoon on his own. Oh, superb play, and that's a great save. Excellent play by the ex-Celtic player. He looked totally isolated. A single maroon jersey, a little bit of deception, but not sufficient to get past the big goalkeeper. they come. There's Cahoon and offside. Rogan. That was McStay. Tommy Burns. Once again trying to get to the line. Galloway is with them. I think the referee's given the free kick, yes. Barging from the back. They all stood and waited. What's a give by Cahoon? That's an excellent pass. And he tried to call it wrong. And that really came from that very bad and slack ball by Cahoon. Back towards his penalty area. Gobbled up by McStay. Look at that subtle little pass there. You can see he trying to chip the keeper. Whittaker, Galloway. Rogan very hard there, now McStay. Rogan. That's an excellent move by Celtic. They seem to have been bogged down in midfield, and then suddenly that more fluid, flexible move, injecting a bit of variety and almost coming off. Smith committed himself exactly. That's a very good ball out. Here's Mackay. Oh dear. No. That was much too negative from that positive position. He had players going right down the middle and chooses to knock it back. And there goes the half-time whistle. The first 45 minutes of the season at Celtic Park are over. We've had no goals, but I suppose the next best thing, that furious opening by Celtic in which they looked as if they would sweep Hearts away, and the Hearts defence looking groggy in the first 8 or 10 minutes or so, and then beginning to reassert itself, and despite all that, it was Hearts who ultimately had the better chances. Ian Ferguson missing from just in front of goals with Andrew very close to him, and an excellent save for a ball that really ought to have been put to the left of the keeper. And then that marvellous run forward by the young fullback Malcolm Murray, taking the Celtic defence on. Rather surprised to see him in that position, and he just chipped it right wide. Excellent move. Still no scoring, and I suppose the half-time team talks will hope that they will get some more variety out of the two sides in the second half. And hard starting off the second half. Perhaps got more out of the first 45 minutes in the sense that they did withstand a great deal of initial pressure, and then managed to counter-attack efficiently and almost sneaked a couple of goals out of it. But the score, of course, is still nothing each. It's been frantic, and I think at times much too frantic, much too fast. Free kick to Celtic. It's McCarthy. Nicely judged ball. Rogan jumps very well, always has. Excellent ball, and just touched away. Joe Miller racing in. Walker. Oh, he should have cut it to the side. And Smith. Fouled, I think, yes. McAvenny strongly in. The man has scored the goal at the end of the cup final. And the ball was dropped by Smith. impressed by Malcolm Murray today. Knows when to come forward. Looks good in defence. Galloway is in there. Woof. Some wild tackling at times, as I said. There's a chip forward, but that should be covered by McCarthy. It certainly looked like handball to me, but the referee turned away from it. To Celtic. Miller busting through the middle. Morris. Oh, superb play by McStay. It's there. McAvenny. 1-0. 6 minutes of the second half gone. And all coming from that delightful play by Paul McStay. Now, Neil Berry has been like a limpet on him. He hasn't been able to get away with it much, but he did it right at the vital time, and this is extremely clean finishing. Just one little touch of subtlety, and the deadlock is broken. Bit shaky, McAvenny is in there, and Dennis Smith. Andy Walker treating him a bit like Beaches Brook, up and over. Looks to me like Sandy Clark is coming on for Hearts. And it's Gary Mackay, the captain, who has gone off. Beautiful headed away there by McCarthy, rising in the pack of players. Walker. Joe Miller it is on that far side. Great pace. Well, that was based on pace and nothing much more than that. Didn't really have any support immediately with him. Millis had to desert the right wing to try and get something out of the game. He's been very closely marked. And he gets a corner. Far post one. Smith. Cleanly taken. That was a real test. Straight to Grant. Galloway. Wasn't really a very clever ball by him, and Bannon turned it into a 50-50 one. Sandy Clark certainly hasn't had time to warm up yet. Very broad-shouldered player, powerful in the air, lays off the ball extremely well. Cahoon. Showed a bit of support. No, very weak. Now Galloway. This is Bannon. Well, it was a bit more like the old Eamon Bannon taking players on. He gets a second bite at it. Well, that's too careless. Draw to Hearts. Got the impression at the moment that Celtic are taking a breather. It's the same intense play from them. But nevertheless, trying to pressurise when necessary, and away goes McAvenny. Oh, that tie. Free kick. A difficult one by Boris. Started off as difficult. Increased with that deflection. Here's Tommy Burns. Break there by Rogan on the overlap. Bannon comes back. There goes Black. Here's Cahoon. That's not a bad ball, and Clark can't bring it down well. In fact, if he had missed that altogether, I think the advantage would have been Hearts, because Ferguson was on the far right behind them. Clark. Hearts trying manfully to fight their way back into this game. Clark. Oh, it's a goal kick. There was a double rebound there. Well, managers have to try and sort things out in the field, and Alec MacDonald and Sandy Jardine together, that joint managership, looking more than a little perplexed. 1-0 down and nothing much happening for Hearts on the field. Clark. A bit too tight, Eamon Bannon. Nobody up for that for Hearts. Whittaker. Thought he went straight for the player. Joe Miller, excellent play by Celtic. And he fights back well. Ooh, just beyond them. Burns, and that ought to have been put in the back of the net. Miller getting a second bite of the cherry. And McAvenny being very brave. So he got back well there, but watch McAvenny coming in, really committing himself. Tommy Burns winning a corner. We're midway through the second half. Celtic still in the lead. 0-0. McCarthy. Good effort by McAvenny. Would have been rather spectacular if he'd made contact. Clark lays it off well. Better play by Hearts. Now Cahoon. Good positioning there. Black, and the final ball's a bad one. And they get in a real tangle. It hasn't been sharp or incisive enough for Hearts up front. Perfectly illustrated there. Oh, that's very slack. Eamon Bannon. Yes, he gets a free kick out of that. Clark. Cahoon. There's Black, and a neat touch there by Morris. Just got rid of that. Looked as if it might go for a corner. Never gives up, this player. Jojo Hart. And Kenny Black will take it down there. Berry with a touch. Corner kick. Bannon fighting very hard for it. David Bannon always capable of a touch of class in a game, and that's precisely what Hearts need now. McPherson trying the touch back. McAvenny just off that. Bannon. Ferguson. No. Straight to the goalkeeper. Nice deft evasion of the defender. But the goalkeeper too well placed for him. Wasn't an easy ball for him. It was being closed down. Neat little touch. And the wrong angle. White keeping his eye on the ball. A superb pass. I thought it might be an offside. Miller. And he's saved for what a mischance. That would have been a glorious individual goal. Superbly saved on the line. Pressure still on though. Away by Galloway. That would have killed Hearts stone dead. Black fought out of it well. And money to Black. Free kick, I would think, yes. Now, that was a Murray stretched out. Now watch this. Out comes Smith. He's almost deceived. He does get that touch to it. And Whittaker brilliantly in, plugging the gap. Walker in sharp as ever. Bannon is back and looked to me to be pulled back. He did. Goes for a penalty. It is. Certainly a penalty. And this is Celtic's first penalty of the season. And I think the referee was indicating he had been pulled at rather than tripped. So Henry Smith will be facing up to Andy Walker himself. Oh, he saved it. Oh, that was a lazy-looking penalty kick. I mean, I do not detract from the save, but that was a languid effort, to say the least. Now, just watch this. No, he didn't even try to wrong foot the goalkeeper. Very surprising. So it's still 1-0. And there is the final whistle. McAvenny, the goal scorer, acknowledging the fans. It really was a superb goal, brilliantly set up by McStay, and the finishing, the measure of it. Celtic supporters have had a bit of a gala day again, and Celtic with a most satisfactory start to the defence of that championship.
Yeah, Celtic pick with his team's efforts.
I'm delighted with it, Archie, yes. I think when you come to the first game, there's unfurling of the flag. You worry if some of the occasion gets through to the players. But I've got a good squad of players, and I felt they handled the game very, very well indeed.
It was played at an almost too frantic pace in the first 10 minutes or so.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it gets that way. Obviously, Hearts were second in the league last year. We anticipated a difficult game. And in fact, I felt we won easier than the scoreline suggested. But, you know, these are the difficult games. I'm perfectly well satisfied with the result.
Now, Paul McStay was marked by one of the best markers in the business, but it was a little touch of brilliance that really turned the game.
Well, that's right. I found it difficult to get away from the big lad Berry, because he stayed very close to him, cut down his room, cut down his space. But I felt what Paul did was showed a lot of imagination, a lot of ability. Plus the fact that Frank McAvenny finished it off very, very well indeed.
Now, everybody has been anticipating that this is going to be a straightforward confrontation between Celtic and Rangers this season. But looking at Hearts today, they played some good football as well, and they stuck to the task right to the end. Do you think this is a false assumption on many of our parts?
Well, I think very much so that, you know, Hearts have got too much to offer to end up second best all the time. I think something will happen for Hearts. I've got a lot of respect for them, a lot of time for them.
Is that your private jet, by the way?
No, it must be yours, actually, I thought. But having said that, you know, I think they're a good side, and they're a difficult side to beat. They persevere, they stick with you. They'll be up there challenging. I'm quite convinced.
Is it a season when you...
I've got a feeling that Dundee United will re-emerge. I mean, Jim's probably got over all his close season carry on and everything, and I think he'll get Dundee United going again.
A run of results against Aberdeen as well.
Celtic, and that latest defeat prompts a question: just what has happened to the Scottish champions? After all, it's only a few short months since their two trophies, League and Cup, were won in such spectacular style, with the promise of more to come.
They're stuck. McAvenny! Frank McAvenny has won the Cup for Celtic.
Celtic's centenary celebrations are still in full swing, but for the time being, the glory trail has ended. And it's as if a centenary jinx has hit the club. There's been a keeper crisis. Pat Bonner, so impressive with the Republic in the European Championships, struck down with a crippling back injury. Englishman Ian Andrews suffering as some fans blame him for losing vital goals.
Here's Durant retrieving it for Rangers. McCoy nods it on, an awkward one for Andrews. And the ball is in the net. It's a goal for Rangers.
Andrews' form slump today allows former Scotland star Alan Rough another tilt at the big time against Dundee at the age of 37. And Ruffy has his own views on Celtic's problems.
I think basically the boys did tremendously well last year. They had a standard to set this year, and I think everybody else is responding that bit extra when they play Celtic now. And I think obviously we've had an extremely hard start to the season, and the boys just haven't got the breaks at certain games. I mean, against Aberdeen, I just seen the game on television, but I think we had our fair share of the game.
This goalkeeping crisis that the club has been suffering, it seems to have affected form, it seems to have affected attitude to a large degree too.
I don't think there's a crisis in the goalkeeping. I think Ian's come into the side and he's put in 100%, which all goalkeepers do. He may be unfortunate to come into the team when we're not particularly playing that well, but I think Pat went through the same when he came into the team, and he took a bit of criticism, but I think Ian will come on and he'll prove. I mean, he doesn't become a bad goalkeeper overnight, and I'm sure that he'll come and prove everybody wrong.
The headlines tell the story. Celtic have problems, but Billy McNeill vows his team will bounce back, an attitude shared by Captain Roy Aitken, who's also mystified by the form crisis.
We're a bit puzzled ourselves, Jim, to be honest, what's happened with us. We've lost as many games already this year as we lost the whole last season. That is puzzling. All we can do is get down to a lot of hard work. It's all about hard work now. There's a long, long way to go. There's 31 league games to play, and hopefully we'll get a result today that will get us back on the road.
Celtic will be back?
No doubt about it. It's a long, long way to go. People have written us off before. I'm surprised people don't learn their lessons. We'll be back.
Now, same last year when they
put their Premier League nightmare behind them by overcoming Hungary's champions, Honvéd of Budapest. It was 1-0 to the Hungarians in the first leg, remember, so Celts had to win and try not to lose a goal in the process. The commentator is Derek Ray.
There's the Celtic line-up, and Billy McNeill has gone for experience in key positions. Mick McCarthy returns to the central defence, while Billy Stark is back in the team to provide attacking power from midfield. Alan Rough keeps his place in goal at the expense of Ian Andrews. Greg McAvenny playing at only his second European tie for Celtic. Now, he's already scored 8 goals this season, and McAvenny really did look sharp in Hungary. Honvéd have made one change to the team that played in the first leg, with star striker Kalman Kovac surprisingly relegated to the bench. Watch out for right back Sandor Shaloi, number 2. He likes to make attacking raids down the flank. Imre Fodor, the Honvéd playmaker. It was Fodor who scored the only goal in Budapest, direct from a free kick. Fodor takes most of the corners, and he's also the penalty kick specialist. Our referee tonight is from Sweden, Erik Fredriksson. And so can Celtic put behind them a disappointing series of games. They've lost 5 of the last 8. Highly charged atmosphere inside the stadium. The Celtic management team believe the crowd could be Celtic's extra man. Joe Miller. Chance for McAvenny. Just the start Celtic wanted. The first corner of the game. Miller with it. Rogan going up. Free kick to Honved. Vital that Celtic don't allow Honved an away goal. But not since the first Premier Division game of the season against Hearts have Celtic registered a clean sheet. Andy Walker playing up front for Celtic tonight. Joe Miller. Now McStay. Taken out by Chair, the left back. Chris Morris with a free kick for Celtic. Chris Morris, signed from Sheffield Wednesday, Republic of Ireland international. And straight through to Alan Ruff. Quick with a kick upfield. McAvenny and Walker. Here's McAvenny, and the shot! Frank McAvenny shooting on sight. And nearly catching out the Honved defence. Rogan's header. Got it back by McCarthy. But it's Stark. Well brought down by McAvenny. Stark is wide to the left. Tackled by Shaloi. Wily campaigner Billy Stark. A lot of European experience in his days with Aberdeen. McStay with a free kick. Walker was up, so was McCarthy. And eventually hooked away. And the play has in fact been called back. The whistle sounding. And it will be a corner kick to Celtic. An early close shave. Celtic's second corner of the game. McCarthy again coming in from the back. Aiken. Tackled by Chehi. Walker. Need to run and turn here. Rogan's header. And McAvenny! Great save by Diestel. Beautiful looping header by Frank McAvenny. Vital touch away by Diestel. Chris Morris with Ganu Shosh. McCarthy pumping it high. Billy Stark for Celtic. Looking to go inside, and Stark! Oh, what a strike by Billy Stark. The Celtic fans love that. Billy Stark going in field. Really whipped it in. And Diestel with a dive of despair, just wide. Rogan's header, but it takes a Honved bounce. Gregor releasing Shosh. Derek White was caught under pressure. That's an interesting ball, picking out Walker. Surely his path was obstructed by Laszlo Diestel. Paul McStay and Anton Rogan, the Celtic players, over the ball. Mick McCarthy is on the right edge of the box. McStay's free kick. The target is McCarthy. And Stark with a header! Malcolm McAvenny. The players up with the ball. Billy Stark. It looked like getting the final touch. Frank McAvenny in the thick of things as well. Anton Roggan for Celtic. And White spinning it out to the right side to Chris Morris. Composed build-up by Celtic in the early stages. McAvenny. The flag was up, but the decision stands. The kick by Diestel. And a chance here for Honved. Well, the free kick goes the way of the Hungarians. Chehi, the player, going down. Alan Ruff preparing himself. The Hungarians can be lethal from set play positions. But no trouble that time. Now Paul McStay, can he win the ball for Celtic? Really, it's been a dour defensive display thus far by the Hungarians. Roggan. 7 minutes remaining in the first half. Returned by McAvenny, and Aiken has made the run. Can he make it 2-0? A chance for Aiken. Beautiful turn by McAvenny to set up the chance. Aiken tearing through. And was there a hold by Varga? Aiken running onto it and just sliding it wide. Distel squinting his kick. Thrown out for the throw. Diestel. Fodor picked off. And here's Joe Miller. Beaten away by the goalkeeper, McAvenny. Frank McAvenny pushing it over. Joe Miller also had the chance for Celtic. Peter Distel thwarted him with the save. But Celtic are on the roll here. Going deep to Josef Gregor. And Alan Ruff with the tackle. Sayatu still with a chance. Ruff is outside his area. Well, the half-time whistle comes to the rescue of Celtic. But Alan Ruff, the hero, right on the whistle. A standing ovation from the Parkhead crowd for what was an excellent first-half display. The goal scored in the 13th minute. A free kick played into Mick McCarthy. McCarthy getting his head to the ball. Billy Stark and Frank McAvenny on the goal line. It looked like McAvenny who got the final touch. And at half-time, it's Celtic 1, Honved 0. The champions of Scotland against the champions of Hungary. Honved kick off the second half. And the knowledge that the priorities have changed since the start of the game. Unless they're prepared to go to penalties, they must now score an away goal to win this tie overall. An early Honved attack and the header by Schosch. It was unchallenged. Janusz Schosch could only spill it wide. Go to Celtic. Free kick going to the Hungarians. Oyeka, the captain. Laszlo Diestel, the libero. Chair, the left back. Intercepted by Morris. And this is Joe Miller for Celtic. Lining up the shots. Walker! Goal! But it's not going to count. The linesman's flag was up just when it looked as if Celtic had gone ahead on aggregate. Joe Miller with the shot that was blocked away. Andy Walker, the player, eventually latching onto it. But the linesman right in line with play. And the goal chalked off. Lost count of the number of times Celtic have been caught offside over the 2 games so far. Bodor trying to release Janusz Szosz. Penalty appeals. Janusz Szosz going down. And the players surrounding the Swedish referee. But the decision, no penalty. Celtic playing on. Free kick as Royakin went down. Well, Honvad clearly thought that should have been a penalty kick as Szosz went down. The tackle going in, but the referee not concurring. Mick McCarthy's flighted free kick. Sayatu. Szosz. It's pumped upfield and again rough outside his penalty area. Chris Morris. Go to Celtic. And Walker unable to prevent that ball from going out. Walker on the turn. Great effort. Andy Walker twisting, teasing and tormenting. He weaved his way past the Honvad defenders. And a chance now for Honvad to build up. Bodor. Gregor tearing down the right. Bodor made the pass. McStay. Chris Morris, the right fullback. Time the interventions by Honvad now. Sayatu. Distel, the sweeper, has made a deep run. This is Gregor. Bodor. And Shaloi with a cross. Distel going up. Away by Stark. Janusz Szosz. Tremendous drive by Szosz. Bouncing and bobbling. Alan Ruff could only take it at the second attempt. Honvad haven't been seen all that often inside the Celtic penalty area. And a couple of near things. And now Morris. But he starts knockback. Rogan. Still Rogan going round the outside. Walker. The danger cleared. Andy Walker inches away from having a crack at it. Chris Morris with a shot blocked away. Celtic stepping up the pressure. but Honved weathered the storm. Roy Aitken looking for fighting spirit from his colleagues. McAvenny's flick on. Joe Miller not quick enough. And easily gathered by Distel. Miller up against Che. Imre Fodor. Fodor again. Great tackle by McStay. McStay certainly had the Hungarians rattled. Winning the ball in midfield, but nearly set up a Celtic chance. Anton Rogan. Pressurised by Gregor. Picked off. But here's Paul McStay. And Joe Miller, offside. The shot going wide, but the flag was up nonetheless. Over the two legs, two evenly matched sides, no doubt about that. Celtic showed plenty of style and panache in the first half. Found it just that bit tougher in the second period. Janusz Szosz. Andy Walker on the recovery. And they're out by Shaloi. Paul McStay with Celtic. Miller. Aiken's header. And Walker. This time it counts. The crowd's wait is over. Celtic are in the lead on aggregates, and they hope it's for good. Celtic eventually beating the offside trap. Andy Walker with a beautiful strike. Walker's 7th goal of the season on the night. Celtic 2, Honved 0 on aggregate. Celtic 2, Honved 1. Tackled by Chehi. Miller has been full of running tonight. Throw by Morris. McCarthy. And now Celtic's turn to go under reverse gear. Deep kick by Ruff. McAvenny, and the lob there. Oh, yes. Pure genius. That surely will settle the outcome. The Hungarians appear to be standing still, but Frank McAvenny certainly wasn't. Timed that lob to perfection. Distel left standing. McAvenny, 2nd goal of the night. And Celtic on their way to round 2. A chance now for Varga. Fired high and a trifle wide, but it did take a deflection en route. Aiken, McStay, Stark and Morris inside the 6-yard box. But it's Stark taking no chances. Fodor has had a quiet game by his own high standards. We've now entered the final 2-minute spell. This is Fodor. Varga, blocked by Aiken. He's still the sweeper. Pressurised by Mark McGee. And this could be 4-0. Can McGee finish? Yes. Seconds remaining, and that caps off a great night for Celtic. Mark McGee getting the break of the ball. He was totally single-minded. Virtually McGee's first touch of the ball. He had 2 bites of a cherry. The second bite was clean. And it's 4-0 for Celtic. There's no doubt about it. This has been a highly efficient performance by Celtic, and it's all over. Celtic are through to the second round of the European Cup. The trophy they won back in 1967. And Celtic certainly worthy winners tonight against the Hungarian army team. Standing ovation from this massive Celtic crowd. And who knows what lies in store for Celtic. The draw takes place on Friday.
Yes, a real boost.
But if I can be a bit cheeky, I would think that was a wee boost.
Yeah, I think it was more than a boost, Barry. It was something we've needed. We've needed it for a long time. I always had hoped that the European scene would bring the best out of us and give us a real boost, because we all need it. Everyone at the club needs a boost at this particular time. The lads certainly supplied it tonight, and the fans rallied round. You know, they were surprising people at times. They knew we needed a bit of help, and they gave us it. And I think the whole thing all came together. Down to the players, their effort was magnificent on the night, and the fans contributed so greatly as well.
So what was different?
It's difficult to say, because it's been a horrendous season in many, many ways to us. We've lost goals so easily. Tonight, I think Mick McCarthy coming back in with Derek White, it's surprising that the only clean sheet we've had this season when those two were together in the first league match of the season. So maybe that's been the answer in many, many ways. But I think everyone gave their best, and they knew we were under pressure, they knew they were under pressure, and they all contributed so greatly.
Unrelenting pace all the way through.
Well, that's right. We went down, in actual fact, I made a conscious decision of going down the coast a day early, in actual fact. I felt it would be good for us to get a whole lot of rest. We didn't do an awful lot of training. We did a bit of training, but not all that much. But basically, we concentrated and get as much rest as we possibly could, because there's been so many games already this season, and I think the rest helped us, because the lads were really geared up to the game, and had it gone another 30 minutes, then they would have been able for that as well.
Not an easy night for you, because, I mean, so much of your season was resting on this one occasion, wasn't it?
Just about, Barry, in many, many ways. It's now, you know, it's lovely to be in the next round of the European Cup, but we've got to use this for the proper reason now. We've got to get our own domestic season underway again, because these players are too good to be getting the results that we are producing. And, you know, so many unfortunate circumstances have happened to us, but they've proved tonight they can play, and they've proved tonight they can score goals as well, and they've proved tonight they can get the crowd on the side, which is very important.
Good evening. Celtic get their mojo working in the club's biggest ever transfer deal. Maurice Johnston comes home from France in £1 million plus return to paradise. Lord Mackay deals by a Scottish football club. Scotland's leading striker, Maurice Johnston, is once again a Celtic player. Late this afternoon, Johnston signed a 4-year contract with the Parkhead club. Celtic have paid £1.2 million to the French club Nantes to secure Johnston's transfer.
Smiling Mo Johnston was back at Parkhead today, almost 2 years after he'd left Celtic to pursue his career in France. Since then, Johnston has emerged as a key figure in Scotland's World Cup qualifying campaign, scoring in 5 matches.
Gallagher with a shot, away by Brostek. Johnston!
Mo Johnson and his girlfriend Karen had appeared settled in France, but now they've a 3-month-old daughter, and that's partly influenced their decision to return to Glasgow.
I'll say there's a few reasons. We've got the baby daughter now. I want her brought up amongst all the family and really the love of the club.
And you've signed a 4-year contract. Why 4 years?
Well, I think I'll finish my career here. I don't want to play for anybody else. I don't want any speculation about me going anywhere else. I just want to play for Celtic, and that's fine.
You seem to be very happily settled in France. What was it that decided you to come back to Glasgow? How did it come about?
Actually, when Celtic came in for me, there was many teams. I wasn't going to stay in France. I was going to sign for Montpellier, and then Italian teams come in, German teams come in. So I say, it was unsettling at the time. Celtic put the offer on the table, and I was delighted to join them.
And what is the offer?
That's for you to find out.
Celtic manager Billy McNeill wouldn't disclose how much Johnston personally had received in the deal. He said the players' demands were not extravagant.
We are ambitious, not just in domestic terms, we're ambitious in European terms as well. With a player of his quality in the ranks, and it will boost other players and will give us the opportunity to start the season very, very optimistically indeed.
For Billy McNeill, the Johnston signing is the biggest coup of his managerial career. And it's this form which the Parkhead faithful will hope to see in the coming season.
Maurice Johnston, his first goal for Celtic.
And there'll be